Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm making two videos today on Independence Day 2019, 4th of July. And this one is going to be probably the most political video I will ever make on my channel because I don't like making videos like that because they're annoying. They always get people pissed off and fired up. On that top 5 surplus firearms you should buy in 2019 video, a lot of the comments are two things. Asking me how did surplus firearms get so expensive so quickly and supply and demand and all that stuff, but why did they dry up, etc., etc. And I've got people that are like, oh, it's the liberals, it's Obama, they did this, they're blah, 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 and, Sandy Hook and, conspiracy theories and all that stuff, which is fine. Like, it's partially a reason, but I'm actually going to go on and set the record straight, okay? And you can disagree with me all you want. I lived through it, okay, as a surplus firearm collector with a Carry and Relic firearms license at that time. I got into the hobby later than most, but there were still really good deals. There was so much surplus around you. I mean, you almost couldn't give it away. Nobody really wanted to buy it because it's old junk, etc., etc. So I lived through that whole thing, the transition period, which I'll call December 2012 to 2013, which was a fun year. Basically what happened was every time the government threatens or even talks about firearms legislation in the United States, people get up in arms, which rightfully so. I agree with that. I don't think that the Second Amendment is hard to understand. I think there are too many rules already. I'm a firearm owner. I'm a responsible firearm owner, and I agree, and I totally get that argument. However, when people are blaming Obama and the liberals and this and that, they're actually not totally correct. It's like a car accident that you're not, you get T-boned, right? And you're not doing anything wrong. Technically, you're still 10% at fault in most states, and at least in my home state of Wisconsin, you are 10% at fault just for being there, okay? So what I saw happen in 2012 and 2013 was the 10% being, yes, after Sandy Hook, there was a lot of talk of assault weapons ban, magazine ban, think of the children, etc., etc. That kind of just normal rhetoric that generally stems from the left, but the conservatives were on it as well, and I think the government's all kind of one and the same. So there were a bunch of people, we need gun legislation, and then, the far right was going, it's mental health, easy answer, just blame it, find the blame game, then move on, and we'll find a solution and shut the public up, and make them feel like we did something. So that's what went on immediately following Sandy Hook, because it did involve younger children, and it was like a horrible event. I'm not going to go into Alex Jones style. Was it staged? Was it a false flag thing? I believe it happened because people are capable of doing that kind of evil, and it sucked. It was a horrible thing. I can't even imagine the families, and just anyway. It was a bad situation, okay? So what happened was the politicians wanted to kind of, I guess, please the public by saying, we're going to look at gun legislation, universal background checks, which there already are, and were at that time, and then, assault weapons bans. And whenever those words come up, everybody starts to panic. Now, by everybody, I'm generally talking about the types of gun owners that are like, oh yeah, I'm Obama, gonna take my guns from my cold dead hands, Mullen Lane, come and get them, Deus Vult, all that stuff. Just the really hardcore, idealistic people that I don't really identify with or associate with. I have a hard time hanging around those people because they're so extreme and they're so just set in their ways and just bam, this is the way it is, and blah, 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 I know everything because I own guns, and it's just that kind of, nonsense. It's just bullshit, in my opinion. And I don't really like those kind of people because they are the ones who were actually responsible for the reason that surplus dried up, ammo dried up, magazines, tactical stuff. I mean, I remember in 2013, you could not buy an AR lower receiver, a magazine, or any parts kit because they were all sold out. So here's what happened. So the administration at that point says, yeah, we're going to be doing this stuff, whatever. Immediately, all of these just super extreme people that don't use really logic, they do the knee-jerk thing too, but in the opposite direction. were like, oh my God, I need to take out a second mortgage on my house. I need to pull out my IRA, all of my money, sell my gold, and buy as many tactical guns as possible. So they all bought the AR-15s. Those went first, right? Because that's the big buzz thing is they, even though technically, whatever the hell his name, I don't know, whoever did that, Adam Lanza, well, it really doesn't matter because you shouldn't even know his name. Another opinion of mine about the media. But anyway, so he actually used a Glock Model 20 in 10 millimeter, if I'm not correct. Glock Model 20 short frame was the main weapon used in that massacre. So they found an AR-15 in his vehicle afterwards, but that became the focus of the legislation. So AR-15s were the first thing to be sold. And I watched certain companies take really ridiculous advantage of this. Cheaper than dirt, I'm calling you out. A lot of other people remember this. I watched the magazine prices the day after Sandy Hook happened, and the Obama administration came on and said, hey, we're going to be doing this. Standard just 30 round magazine, right? Just everybody's got, even PMags, whatever, went from like $7 to $10 to $70. And it wasn't just a typo. You guys know what you were doing. You did it. I mean, I think it's a shitty move. It's just kind of stupid, but I mean, capitalism, you can do what you want, I guess, and people paid the money for it, which was really dumb. Anyway, then, so the AR-15s sold out. Then they went for the AKs, and they went for the FAL, G3, SETMEs, Tavors, AUGs, Steyr AUGs, everything. All these semi-automatic rifles, right? The quote-unquote assault weapons that the Obama administration was mentioning in these things. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to abbreviate this because, yeah, I get it. They don't know what they're talking about with guns. I get that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not defending their actions because even just talking about it's really dumb. But it wasn't all their fault. It was what I call fear mongers, okay? So they said, oh, Obama's coming for your guns. You got to get them all. And that really stirred up the pot. And a lot of YouTubers, gun channels at that time did the same thing. They were fear mongering. They said, you know what? You guys need to get this. We're on the verge of a civil war. You need to get these before they're banned, blah, 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 blah. Just amping people up. So people were legitimately taking out mortgages on their house, doing whatever they could to scrape up and hoard this shit. And with that came 22 ammo, right? That was the survival round that everybody's like, you got to get this, even though it's the most common caliber and round in the world. That was sold out instantly. Guys were buying pallets of that shit and hoarding it in their basement or garage or whatever. And so after all the tactical stuff sold out, it was gone within a week. Like you couldn't find anything tactical after that. Magazines, nothing. ARs, nothing. AKs, all the aforementioned weapons, you couldn't find anything. So people were still getting this amping, this fear-mongering going, and everybody was amped up. And so all of a sudden, that $70 to $80 Mosin Nagant 9130 old army piece of shit Russian gun at Fleet Farm or Cabela's or Gander Mountain or Big Five or Dunham's or whatever starts to look good because it's a firearm, right? And Obama's going to take your guns. Just because they mentioned that they might look at possibly introducing gun legislation before, like, you know, just because they mention that doesn't mean it's even going to get to the floor, right? Because they mentioned that, all these people reacted totally knee-jerk opposite direction that the left was at the time. They started to look at these old military surplus guns and they started going, that's a good deal. Man, I can get a spam can of ammo. Those were gone within the next week after Sandy Hook. So this is 2 weeks after Sandy Hook happens, right? I also watched Fleet Farm jack their prices of the Mosin Nagant 9130s up overnight after the first tactical shit sold out and there was no ammo on the shelves or magazines. The Mosin Nagant 9130s that were always at Fleet Farm, because I'm local up in the upper Midwest, it's a chain we have, it's a small chain that sold military surplus firearms, and the Mosin Nagant was the most popular. They went from $80 to $160 overnight, and I asked them about it, I called them on it, and I said, why is that? They said, well, that came from upper management because our suppliers are now asking that. So that's what started this whole chain reaction, okay, of just, supply and demand. There's a finite supply, even though it hasn't been moving that fast in the past few years because not a lot of people are into it, but the demand is going up. Bam, jack the price up, and they still sold out. Everybody shit panicked and bought as much as they could, as fast as they could. Spam cans of ammo were gone. 9130s were gone. VZ24s, UM48s, UM2447s, handguns, you name it, were gone, sold. 1895 Nagant revolvers, okay? Those were $99 for the longest time. I bought one back when they were $99, and I was like, I'll get another one in the future maybe, but they'll always be here because there's a ton of them. Gone, sold out, ammo sold out, everything. So it took about 2 weeks. So we're looking at the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. All the shelves were bare. Everything online was gone. And that's when I started to notice, I'm like, holy shit, there is a problem. Anyway, weird surprise, that legislation died out. It got cock-blocked by the Constitution, and a bunch of people lobbied, which lobbyists are stupid, and I don't agree with that, but they still lobbied and got it to kind of relax, and they still tried to push for it for a while, but it died out as the public kind of forgot about Sandy Hook because the next tragedy happened or whatever. So I'm sitting there going, holy shit, what the hell happened? That was really fast. And now everybody's interested in the surplus firearms, okay? Which sucks, because they actually get one and they go out and try it and they realize, oh wow, this is actually pretty cool and it's cheap. Well, it was cheap. And so people are buying 10, 15 Mosin Nagant 9130s, you name it. And then people start getting into the collecting community because they now have this gun. If I had a penny for every freaking post I saw after Sandy Hook that said, I just got this Mosin Nagant 9130, how much is it worth? Did I do good? I'd be a millionaire right now. Seriously, it was just like that because people didn't know what they were doing, and they wanted to, like, you know, they figured out there was a market too, a collector's market, and they said, oh, this is a rare gun. Well, no, it's not. So that started driving the price up too, is everything was sold out. Now 2013, and I believe it was 2013 or 14, I can't remember exactly, when Russia decided to deploy troops to Crimea in Ukraine. And all of a sudden, Ukraine is no longer selling us Mosin Nagant 9130s, the 1895 Nagants, all the stuff they were getting, because we have a direct import ban with Russia, so we can't get stuff directly from Russia. So most of the 9130s and all the Soviet weapons were coming from Ukraine. They stopped selling them because they were using them or preparing to use them, whatever, hanging on to them, not selling them to us. Supply dries up. Demand is still extremely high. Price goes up. Private parties, secondary market, gouging, selling their stuff for way more than it's worth. And it was not only the baby boomers, right, which happen to have a lot of money and, you know, assets that they could liquefy really quick to get this stuff. But it was younger people too. I watched it, and it was younger people who thought they could start their own business because they could take advantage of a crisis, and none of them have a business now. And they destroyed the market essentially. So supply dried up in a matter of, I'd say realistically about 6 months. Surplus was dead and gone. And the prices spiked for a long time. All the K98s that were, you know, Russian captured, $350 forever, gone. $700, $800 if you could find them. Gunbroker was nuts. I won't even get into how high the prices were on there. So that happens. Now we fast forward a few years. There's been no huge imports of weapons, like older weapons, because a lot of them are dried up from these countries we were getting them from. Again, people blame Obama, and although I'm not an Obama supporter, didn't vote for him either time, and I'm not defending any of his actions, I'm just saying that you can't just pin it on him. He doesn't make legislation, he can talk about it, but it was not him, it was actually the fearmongers that were in the gun community that took advantage of a crisis and did the exact kind of thing that they bitch at the left for doing. So essentially it was just a bunch of people, a bunch of gun owners and YouTubers and all that stuff, content creators, that screwed over the surplus market basically forever. I don't see it ever coming back down, even though I wishful thinking. I think it's never going to come back down. I think these things are dried up. They're going to be secondary market, and the price is just going to keep going up unless by some miracle something evens out and we can get them. I mean, I'd even be willing to pay $100 for Mosin Nagant 9130 now. That's not a problem. I'm not going to pay $300 to $400 for a frickin' refurb. So I really hope this kind of cleared up. This is a brief overview. This isn't really super detailed. It would take me hours to explain what exactly happened, why it happened, when it happened, who did this, who did that. And I can give examples. I gave you a couple that I personally witnessed in that whole crisis. So yeah, anyway, I hope you learned something from this. I hope this answers some questions. I actually get this question a lot, and it's just too much to type in the comments. So I just figured I'd make a video. Celebrate the 4th of July, right? Freedom. We still do have a really good, strong Second Amendment. Trust me, you guys, we have a lot more rights than many other countries do with firearms. So I wouldn't get your panties in a wad too hard, and don't buy into the fear mongering next time if something like this happens. That's what killed the market, is gun owners. It's self-destructed. Now you can get an AR-15 for $300, $350. You know, you can build your own for cheaper, all that stuff. Magazines are plentiful. I never hoarded anything because I'm not a douche. I bought what I wanted and probably some extra shit, but nothing to, like, you know, sell it when a crisis happens and pay off your house and buy an island. Never did that because I think that's stupid and I think that takes all the fun out of it and all the enjoyment out of it. Now you could look at this and say, hey, got a bunch of people into collecting. I don't view that as a positive thing. I view that as a negative thing because it was a hobby. It was a niche hobby and now it's mainstream, and I know I sound like a hipster, right? Funny. But it really sucked a lot of the fun out of it for myself and other people who got into the game before all this happened. And it took a hobby that was affordable and made it not affordable. And now everybody's an expert or thinks they are, and they're really not. Again, it was a hobby. You're collecting a tangible piece of history that you can actually hunt with and go target shooting with. And it's just not as fun anymore. So that's why I'm taking a break from military surplus firearms in general. I'm not going to pay the ridiculous prices they're asking, and maybe they'll keep going up. Maybe I'm screwing myself, maybe not, but I refuse to bow down to the system that I'm speaking out against right now, of the fear mongering and the few will profit off of the many because of said fear mongering. Anyway, hope this isn't too redundant. Hopefully this didn't run too long. I just had to get a lot of information out, still abridged, but in a short video. So hope you enjoyed this. Consider supporting the channel. You can get the links in the description for that. Also follow me on BitChute. That's gonna be cool. If you're watching this on BitChute, you don't have to do that obviously, but still follow me and subscribe to the channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. It is the 4th of July, so I'm gonna go blow some shit up.